Create Your Own Happiness, The Power of Daily Actions, published by the Growth Mind Audiobook. Introduction. Most people have a sentence they repeat without realizing how much power it has over their lives. I'll be happy when I earn more, when I find the right partner, when my family problems finally settle down, when my career improves, when I lose the weight, when I reach the goal, when I become the person I think I should be. There is nothing wrong with wanting a better life. The problem begins when you make happiness dependent on getting everything you want, because life does not make that promise. There will be difficult mornings, unexpected expenses, disappointments you did not see coming, people who let you down, plans that fail, goals that take longer than expected. Some days you will wake up motivated. Other days, getting through the day will be the achievement. You cannot eliminate all of that, but you can decide what you do next. That is where this audiobook begins. Creating your own happiness does not mean forcing a smile when you are hurting. It does not mean pretending that every setback is a blessing or convincing yourself that everything happens for a reason. It means facing reality honestly and then asking a more useful question: what can I do from here? You may not control what happened yesterday, but you can choose what you do today. You may not control another person's behavior, but you can decide what access they have to your life. You may not control every problem, but you can choose where to place your energy. You may not control how quickly success arrives, but you can control whether you keep taking meaningful steps. That is the power of daily action. Throughout this audiobook, you will be challenged to do more than simply understand yourself. You will be encouraged to act. Take responsibility for what is yours. Let go of what is not. Catch the thoughts that repeatedly pull you backward and question them. Train yourself to notice what is still good, even during difficult seasons. Build small habits that support your physical and emotional well-being. Protect your time and energy. Strengthen the relationships that matter. Set boundaries where they are necessary. Stop postponing your life while chasing an imagined future. When hardship arrives, do not ask how to avoid every uncomfortable feeling. Ask what the next honest, useful step is. When you discover your purpose, do not wait for perfect conditions to pursue it. Start where you are. And when life gives you an ordinary good moment, do not rush past it. Pay attention, be there. You will not be happy every day. You will not always feel motivated. You will make mistakes, lose your way, and sometimes have to begin again. That is normal. The goal is not to control life. The goal is to become someone who knows how to respond to life. So begin small, change one thought. Take one healthy action, make one difficult decision, have one honest conversation, set one boundary, appreciate one moment. Take one step toward the life you want, then tomorrow, take another. Because happiness is not built in a single breakthrough. It is built quietly, through the choices you repeat when life is ordinary, uncertain, and imperfect. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can participate in what happens next, and that is where your journey begins. Chapter 1. Take back control and change what you can. One of the hardest lessons in life is also one of the most freeing. You cannot control everything that happens to you. You cannot control another person's decisions, the economy, the weather, the past, or every unexpected problem that walks into your life. You cannot guarantee that your plans will work out or that everyone will treat you fairly. But while you cannot control everything around you, you can influence what happens next by taking responsibility for the things that are actually within your reach. This is where creating your own happiness begins. Many people spend years waiting for their circumstances to improve before they allow themselves to feel better. They blame their unhappiness on their job, their family, their finances, their relationships, or their past. Sometimes those circumstances genuinely are difficult. This is not about pretending otherwise. Real problems exist, and some situations are deeply painful. But there is a difference between acknowledging a difficult reality and handing that reality complete control over your life. You may not be able to change the situation today, but you can ask yourself a different question. What is one thing I can do from here? That question moves you from helplessness toward action. Start by separating your life into two categories. The first contains the things you can influence: your choices, your effort, your habits, your boundaries, your attention, your words, and your response to setbacks. The second contains everything you cannot directly control: other people's opinions, past events, unexpected outcomes, and circumstances outside your reach. The purpose is not to ignore the second category. It is to stop spending all your energy fighting it. Think about how much mental space is wasted worrying about what someone else thinks of you. You replay conversations, imagine future judgments, and try to control an opinion that was never yours to manage. Meanwhile, you may be neglecting something you actually can influence: your own behavior, your own confidence, or the way you speak to yourself. The next time you notice yourself becoming frustrated, pause before reacting. Ask, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, acknowledge it and redirect your attention. If the answer is yes, stop analyzing and take one concrete step. That step does not need to be dramatic. If your finances are causing stress, review your spending instead of simply worrying about money. If your health concerns you, take one practical action instead of waiting for perfect motivation. If a relationship is damaging your peace, communicate honestly or establish a boundary. If you dislike your career, begin learning a skill or researching another direction. If you keep criticizing yourself for past mistakes, focus on what you can learn and do differently now. Action creates movement. Movement creates possibility. This does not mean every action will immediately solve the problem. Sometimes you will take the right step and still face another obstacle. Sometimes you will work hard and experience disappointment. Taking responsibility is not a guarantee of success. It is a decision to remain an active participant in your own life. That distinction matters. You are not responsible for everything that happens to you, but you are responsible for deciding what you do with what happens next. Start noticing where you are giving away your power. Are you waiting for someone to apologize before you move forward? Are you waiting for motivation before changing a habit? Are you waiting for perfect circumstances before beginning? Are you constantly explaining why you cannot act while ignoring the small things you could do today? Be honest with yourself. Then choose one area where you have been waiting and take one step. Make the call. Have the conversation. Write the plan. Cancel the unnecessary commitment. Take the walk. Apply for the opportunity. Turn off the distraction. Say no. Ask for help. Begin again. You do not need control over your entire life to create a better one. You need to recognize where your influence begins and use it. Happiness becomes more realistic when you stop demanding that life give you everything you want and start asking yourself what you can contribute to the life you have. You cannot control the whole story, but you can take responsibility for your next page. Chapter 2. Break the mental patterns that steal your joy. Taking back control of your life is an important first step, but sooner or later you discover a difficult truth. Sometimes the biggest obstacle is not what is happening around you. It is what is happening inside your own mind. You can change your circumstances, improve your habits, and make better decisions, yet still carry the same fears, doubts, and negative assumptions wherever you go. If you want to create lasting happiness, you must learn to recognize the mental patterns that quietly influence the way you experience your life. Your mind tells stories all day long. Some of those stories are helpful, others are leftovers from painful experiences, old insecurities, disappointments, or criticism you absorbed years ago. The problem is that repeated thoughts can begin to feel like facts. You think, I'm not good enough, and eventually you stop questioning it. You tell yourself, nothing ever works out for me, and every setback becomes proof. You think, people will judge me, and you avoid opportunities before anyone has even had the chance to respond. The first action is to slow down and notice. When a negative thought appears, do not immediately accept it as truth. Create a small space between the thought and your reaction. Ask yourself, is this actually true, or is this simply the way I feel right now? That question can change everything. Imagine you make a mistake at work. Your first thought might be, I'm terrible at this, I'm never going to succeed. But the event itself is much smaller than the story you have built around it. You made a mistake, that is a fact. The conclusion that you are incapable of succeeding is an interpretation. Learn to separate facts from interpretations. This does not mean replacing every negative thought with unrealistic positivity. If you are struggling, you do not need to tell yourself that everything is wonderful. Instead, practice thinking in a way that is honest and useful. Replace, I can't handle this with, this is difficult, but I can deal with the next step. Replace, I always fail with, this attempt did not work, so what can I change? Replace, everyone is ahead of me with, their path is different from mine, and I can focus on my own progress. The goal is not to become endlessly optimistic. The goal is to become mentally flexible. You can also begin paying attention to the situations that repeatedly trigger negative thinking. Maybe you become insecure when scrolling through social media. Perhaps criticism makes you immediately question your worth. Maybe uncertainty causes you to imagine the worst possible outcome. Once you identify these patterns, you can prepare for them instead of being controlled by them. Take a few minutes each day to examine your thoughts. Ask yourself, what thought has been repeating lately? Where did it come from? Is it helping me? What would I say to a close friend who was thinking this way? Then write down a more balanced response. This simple practice can gradually change the way you speak to yourself. Remember, your mind is not your enemy. Negative thoughts are often attempts to protect you from embarrassment, rejection, disappointment, or pain. Your brain may be trying to keep you safe by preparing for everything that could go wrong. But protection can become limitation when fear starts making all your decisions. You do not have to fight every thought. You simply have to stop letting every thought lead. When fear says, don't try, you can choose to take a small step. When doubt says, you're not ready, you can learn something new. When your past says, this will happen again, you can remind yourself that the future has not been written yet. This is how you begin breaking the mental patterns that steal your joy. Not by pretending negative thoughts will disappear forever, but by learning to recognize them without automatically obeying them. You will still have bad days. You will still worry. You will still experience moments of self-doubt. That is part of being human. The difference is that you no longer have to treat every thought as a command. Notice it, question it, choose a better response, then take the next step. Because the quality of your life is influenced not only by what happens to you, but also by the meaning you repeatedly give to what happens. Change the story when the story is hurting you, and slowly you may discover that the mind that once made life feel smaller can become one of the greatest tools for creating a life that feels more open, peaceful, and genuinely your own. Chapter 3. Train your attention to see what others miss. Once you begin taking responsibility for your choices and questioning the thoughts that hold you back, another powerful realization appears. Your happiness is influenced by what you repeatedly pay attention to. Two people can live through the same day and walk away with completely different experiences. One notices everything that went wrong. The other notices what went right. The circumstances may be identical, but their attention is focused in different directions. This does not mean that one person is realistic and the other is pretending. It means that attention is selective. Your mind cannot focus equally on everything happening around you, so it naturally chooses what seems important. If you constantly search for problems, you will become very good at finding them. If you deliberately look for moments of progress, connection, beauty, or gratitude, you become more capable of recognizing those things too. The challenge is that modern life trains us to focus on what is missing. Social media shows us what other people have. Advertising reminds us what we should buy. News highlights what is going wrong. Comparison encourages us to measure our lives against someone else's best moments. Before long, we can become so focused on what we lack that we stop noticing what is already present. This is where intentional attention becomes a daily practice. Start by asking yourself a simple question at the end of each day. What went right today? Perhaps you finished something you had been avoiding. Maybe someone made you laugh. Maybe you enjoyed a quiet cup of coffee, took a walk, had a meaningful conversation, or simply made it through a difficult day without giving up. These moments may seem small, but a meaningful life is often made from small moments repeated over time. Do not wait for extraordinary events to give yourself permission to appreciate your life. Practice noticing ordinary things. When you eat, actually taste the food. When someone speaks to you, listen instead of preparing your response. When you walk outside, look around. Notice the weather, the sounds, the movement of people, and the changing light. When something good happens, allow yourself to experience it instead of immediately moving on to the next task. You are training your attention to stay where your life is happening. One useful exercise is to create a daily 3 things practice. Before going to sleep, identify 3 things you appreciated that day. They do not need to be impressive. In fact, the smaller they are, the better. The purpose is to teach your mind that even an ordinary day contains something worth noticing. You can also begin recording your progress. Many people are so focused on how far they still have to go that they forget to acknowledge how far they have already traveled. Write down 1 thing you handled better than you would have in the past. Notice 1 habit you are improving. Recognize 1 difficult situation you survived. Progress deserves attention too. This practice is especially important during difficult seasons. Gratitude does not require you to deny pain. You can be disappointed and still appreciate something. You can be worried and still notice a beautiful moment. You can be struggling and still recognize that someone cares about you. Life can contain difficulty and goodness at the same time. That is a more realistic form of happiness. The goal is not to convince yourself that everything is good. The goal is to stop allowing everything that is bad to become the only thing you can see. So today, experiment with your attention. When you catch yourself complaining, pause and ask, what else is true? If you are thinking about everything that is missing, ask, what is already here? If you are focused on how far you have to go, ask, what progress have I already made? These questions do not magically solve problems. They simply widen your perspective. And perspective matters, because when you repeatedly train yourself to notice what is meaningful, your life begins to feel different, not necessarily because everything around you has changed, but because you have become more capable of seeing the value that was there all along. Happiness is not only about adding more good things to your life. Sometimes it begins by paying closer attention to the good things you already have. Chapter 4. Build habits that make happiness easier. By now, you have begun to take responsibility for what you can control, challenge the thoughts that hold you back, and direct your attention toward the good that already exists in your life. But awareness alone is not enough. If you want those changes to last, you must turn them into behavior. This is where your daily habits become important. Your life is shaped less by what you occasionally do and more by what you repeatedly do. A single positive decision can feel inspiring, but repeated actions are what eventually create change. The way you start your mornings, use your time, treat your body, manage stress, and recover from demanding days all influence how you experience your life. The good news is that you do not need to rebuild your entire routine overnight. In fact, trying to change everything at once often creates frustration and eventually leads to giving up. Instead, start with one small habit that makes your life slightly better. Maybe you go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Maybe you take a short walk after dinner. Maybe you spend the first 15 minutes of your morning without checking your phone. Maybe you prepare healthier meals, clean your workspace, or spend 10 quiet minutes reflecting on your day. Small actions may not feel powerful in the moment, but consistency gives them strength. Think about the habits that currently influence your happiness in a negative way. Are you constantly checking your phone, staying up too late, avoiding exercise, saying yes to everything, working without taking breaks, filling every quiet moment with noise, ignoring problems until they become overwhelming? Do not judge yourself, simply notice. Then choose one pattern to change. A useful approach is to make the better action easier to begin. If you want to walk more, place your shoes somewhere visible. If you want to read, keep a book beside your bed. If you want to reduce screen time, move distracting apps away from your home screen. If you want to practice gratitude, keep a notebook where you will see it every evening. Your environment can either support your intentions or quietly work against them. Another important lesson is to stop expecting motivation to carry you. Motivation rises and falls. Some mornings you will feel energetic and enthusiastic. Other mornings you will feel tired and unmotivated. If your habits depend entirely on how you feel, they will disappear whenever life becomes difficult. Build routines that are simple enough to continue on imperfect days. You might not exercise for an hour, but you can take a 10-minute walk. You might not have time for a long meditation, but you can sit quietly for 2 minutes. You might not be able to solve every problem, but you can organize one small part of your life. The goal is not perfection. The goal is continuity. At the same time, remember that happiness is not created by productivity alone. Rest is also a habit. Enjoyment is also important. Time with people you love is not wasted time. You need moments when you are not achieving anything. A healthy life requires both effort and recovery, so choose your habits carefully. Build routines that help you become healthier, calmer, more present, and more connected to what matters. Start with one action today. Repeat it tomorrow. If you miss a day, begin again without turning one mistake into a reason to quit. Over time, these small decisions become part of your identity. You stop asking, "How do I become happier?" You start living in ways that make happiness easier to experience. And that is the real power of daily habits. They quietly shape the life you wake up to every morning. Chapter 5. Protect your energy and choose your relationships wisely. As you begin building healthier habits, you may notice something important. Your personal environment can either strengthen your progress or quietly undermine it. You can improve your mindset, create better routines, and become more intentional with your time, but the people around you still have an enormous influence on how you feel and who you become. This does not mean every difficult person must be removed from your life. Relationships are complicated. People have bad days. Everyone makes mistakes. But there is a difference between an imperfect relationship and one that repeatedly leaves you feeling exhausted, disrespected, manipulated, or diminished. Start paying attention to how you feel after spending time with people. Do you feel encouraged to be yourself, or do you feel like you have to constantly perform? Can you speak honestly without fear of being mocked? Do they respect your boundaries? Are they genuinely happy when you make progress, or do they find ways to make you feel guilty for growing? These questions are not about judging people, they are about becoming aware of the relationships that shape your emotional world. Your time and energy are limited. Every conversation, commitment, and relationship requires some part of you. If you continually give your energy to people who create unnecessary chaos, you may have very little left for the people and goals that genuinely matter. This is why boundaries are so important. A boundary is not a punishment. It is a clear statement about what you will and will not accept. Sometimes it means saying no to an invitation. Sometimes it means ending an argument instead of trying to win it. Sometimes it means refusing to explain yourself repeatedly to someone who has already made up their mind. You do not need everyone to understand your boundaries before you are allowed to have them. At the same time, protecting your peace does not mean becoming cold or isolated. Healthy relationships require effort. If someone matters to you, make time for them. Listen when they speak. Apologize when you are wrong. Express appreciation instead of assuming people already know how you feel. A meaningful relationship is not built by finding perfect people. It is built by two imperfect people choosing honesty, respect, and effort. Take a moment to examine your own behavior too. Ask yourself, am I the kind of friend I want to have? Do I listen? Do I support people when they succeed? Do I communicate clearly when something bothers me? Do I expect others to read my mind? Happiness is not only about choosing better people, it is also about becoming a better person to be around. You may also need to accept that some relationships will change as you change. When you begin setting boundaries, people who benefited from your lack of boundaries may become uncomfortable. When you stop participating in constant drama, you may discover that certain connections were built entirely around that drama. Do not automatically assume that every relationship must last forever. Some people belong in your life for a season, others stay for decades. The important thing is to recognize whether a relationship is helping you grow, keeping you grounded, or repeatedly pulling you away from the person you are trying to become. Today, take one practical step. Reach out to someone who makes your life better. Thank them, give them your attention, or, if necessary, establish one boundary that you have been avoiding. Choose connection where connection is healthy. Choose distance where distance is necessary. And remember, protecting your energy is not about building walls around your heart. It is about becoming intentional about who you allow close enough to influence it. Chapter 6. Stop chasing more and start living with enough. After you begin taking control of your habits and becoming more intentional about your relationships, you may notice another force quietly influencing your happiness: the constant desire for more. More money, more success, more recognition, more possessions, more followers, more achievements. The list never seems to end. There is nothing wrong with ambition. Wanting to improve your life can be healthy and motivating. The problem begins when you convince yourself that you cannot enjoy your life until you reach the next milestone. You tell yourself that happiness is waiting for you after the promotion, after the house, after the perfect relationship, after you finally become successful enough. Then you reach the goal, experience a brief sense of satisfaction, and almost immediately begin looking for the next thing. If you are not careful, your entire life can become a waiting room. The modern world constantly encourages this mindset. Advertising tells you that you need something new. Social media shows you what other people appear to have. Comparison makes ordinary progress feel inadequate. Before long, you may begin measuring your life against people you do not even know. The result is exhausting. So ask yourself an honest question. What would be enough for me? Not enough to stop growing, not enough to give up your dreams, enough to recognize that your current life has value before every goal is completed. This distinction matters. You can be ambitious and grateful at the same time. You can want more and still appreciate what you already have. You can work toward a better future without treating the present as something you must endure. Start by noticing how often you postpone enjoyment. How many times have you said, "I'll relax when this project is finished," or "I'll enjoy myself when I have more money," or "I'll finally feel successful when I reach that goal"? There will always be another project, another expense, another target. If you make happiness dependent on completion, you may never experience enough of it. Instead, learn to celebrate progress while continuing to move forward. If you are improving your health, acknowledge the small changes. If you are building a career, appreciate the skills you are gaining. If you are saving money, recognize the discipline behind each contribution. If you are healing emotionally, give yourself credit for the work that nobody else can see. Do not wait until the finish line to appreciate the distance you have traveled. Another powerful step is to reduce unnecessary comparison. You do not know the full story behind someone else's success. You see the outcome, not the sacrifices, struggles, debt, failures, or private difficulties that may exist behind it. Comparing your ordinary life to someone else's carefully presented highlights is an unfair competition. Focus on your own scoreboard. Ask yourself, am I becoming healthier, more capable, more peaceful, more honest, more disciplined, more connected to the people I love? Those questions are often more valuable than asking whether you have more than someone else. Living with enough does not mean settling for less than you want. It means refusing to sacrifice the present entirely for the promise of a future that is never guaranteed. So pursue your goals, work hard, build something meaningful, improve your circumstances. But while you are building, remember to live. Take the day off when you genuinely need one. Enjoy the meal. Call the person you love. Notice the sunset. Laugh without feeling guilty about being unproductive. Your life is not beginning after you achieve your next goal. It is already happening. Do not spend so much time chasing the life you want that you forget to experience the life you have. Chapter 7. Face the pain, learn the lesson, and move forward. You can build better habits, protect your energy, appreciate what you have, and become more intentional about your life. But none of these choices will make you immune to hardship. At some point, something will happen that you did not expect. A relationship will end, a plan will fail, someone will disappoint you, an opportunity will disappear. You may lose something you deeply valued or find yourself standing in a situation you never wanted. This is where your understanding of happiness is truly tested. Creating your own happiness does not mean avoiding pain. It means learning how to live through painful experiences without allowing them to permanently take over your life. When something hurts, give yourself permission to acknowledge it. You do not have to immediately turn every disappointment into a lesson. Sometimes you simply need to admit, "This hurts." Pretending that you are fine when you are not does not make you stronger. It only delays the work of healing. But there comes a moment when you must begin asking a different question. What do I do now? That question shifts your attention from the event itself to your next step. You cannot always change what happened, but you can decide how you respond to it. You may not be able to undo the rejection, but you can decide whether you will let it define your worth. You cannot erase a mistake, but you can learn from it. You cannot force someone to stay, but you can choose how you rebuild your life after they leave. This is where resilience begins. Resilience is not pretending that you are unbreakable. It is recognizing that you can be hurt and still continue. You can feel afraid and still act. You can experience failure and still try again. One of the most useful habits during difficult times is to separate the event from the story you tell yourself about it. Losing one opportunity does not mean you will never succeed. Experiencing one failed relationship does not mean you are incapable of being loved. Making a poor decision does not mean you are a permanently foolish person. The event is real. The permanent conclusion may not be. When life becomes difficult, narrow your focus. Do not demand that you solve your entire future in one afternoon. Ask yourself what needs to happen next. Make the phone call. Gather the information. Take care of your body. Talk to someone you trust. Rest if you need to. Then take one more step. Progress during hard seasons often looks very different from progress during good ones. Sometimes success means getting out of bed. Sometimes it means refusing to send the angry message. Sometimes it means asking for help instead of pretending you can handle everything alone. Do not underestimate small acts of courage. You should also allow difficult experiences to teach you. Ask what the situation revealed about your priorities, your boundaries, your choices, or the people around you. Maybe you ignored warning signs. Maybe you stayed too long. Maybe you need to develop a new skill. Maybe you discovered a strength you never knew you had. The goal is not to be grateful for every painful experience. Some things are simply painful. The goal is to refuse to let pain be meaningless. Let it teach you something. Let it sharpen your judgment. Let it deepen your compassion. Let it show you what matters. And then, when you are ready, move. Not because the pain did not matter, but because your life still matters. Happiness is not the absence of difficult days. It is the ability to keep creating meaningful days even after difficult ones have passed through your life. You cannot always choose what breaks your heart, but you can choose what you build afterward. Chapter 8. Choose a purpose and start living it now. After learning to face disappointment, recover from difficult experiences, and keep moving forward, you may find yourself asking a deeper question. What am I moving toward? Surviving difficult seasons is important, but a fulfilling life requires more than simply getting through the day. At some point, you need something meaningful to move toward. That is where purpose enters the picture. Purpose does not have to be a grand mission that changes the world. It does not require you to discover one perfect career or uncover a single destiny. For many people, purpose is much more ordinary and personal. It may be raising a family, creating something useful, helping others, becoming excellent at a craft, building a business, learning continuously, or becoming the kind of person they can respect. The important question is not, what sounds impressive? It is, what genuinely matters to me? Your answer will be different from someone else's. That is why comparing your life to another person's definition of success can leave you feeling lost. You may spend years pursuing goals that look impressive from the outside but feel empty once you achieve them. Take time to identify your values. What do you want your life to stand for? What qualities do you want to embody? What would you still care about if nobody applauded you for it? Maybe you value freedom. Maybe you value family, creativity, honesty, courage, learning, service, or independence. Once you identify what matters, the next step is to connect those values to your daily actions. This is where purpose becomes practical. If family matters, do not simply say that family is important. Make time for the people you love. Put the phone away during conversations. Be present when they need you. If health matters, make choices that reflect that value. Move your body, rest properly, take care of yourself. If learning matters, read, practice, ask questions, and develop your skills. If helping others matters, look for ways to contribute, even when the opportunity seems small. Your values become meaningful when they appear in your calendar, your habits, and your decisions. Purpose is not something you find by thinking about it forever. Often, you discover it by doing. Try things, explore interests, volunteer, build something, learn a skill, take on responsibilities, pay attention to the activities that make you feel engaged and useful. You do not need complete certainty before you begin. Many people waste years waiting for clarity when clarity often comes after action. You take a step, learn something, adjust your direction, and take another step. Your purpose can develop as you do. It is also important to understand that purpose does not guarantee happiness every day. Meaningful work can be exhausting. Caring for others can be difficult. Building something important requires sacrifice. But when your effort is connected to something you genuinely value, even difficult work can feel worthwhile. That is the difference between being busy and being purposeful. So ask yourself, what is worth my time? Who do I want to help? What do I want to create? What kind of person do I want to become? What would make me proud when I look back years from now? Then choose one answer and act on it. Do not wait for a perfect plan. Start with what you know. Take one meaningful action today, then repeat it tomorrow. A purposeful life is not created by one dramatic decision. It is built through countless ordinary choices that gradually bring your actions into alignment with your values. You do not have to know exactly where the road ends. You only need to know which direction is worth walking. Choose what matters, then start living it now. Chapter 9. Slow down and experience the life you are building. You have learned to take responsibility for what you can control, challenge the thoughts that hold you back, pay attention to what is good, build supportive habits, protect your energy, appreciate what you already have, face difficult seasons, and move toward a life that has meaning. But there is one final trap that can quietly undo all of that progress. Becoming so focused on building a better future that you forget to experience the present. It is easy to fall into this pattern. You tell yourself that you will relax when the work is finished. You will enjoy yourself when you have more money. You will spend time with the people you love when life becomes less busy. You will finally slow down after you reach the next goal. Then the next goal arrives, and there is another one waiting. If you keep living this way, you can spend years preparing to live without ever actually feeling present in your own life. Being present does not mean abandoning your ambitions or ignoring your responsibilities. It means learning to fully participate in the moments that are already happening. Your future matters, but so does the day you are living right now. Start by noticing how often your attention is somewhere else. You may be eating while looking at a screen, talking to someone while checking your phone, walking outside while thinking about tomorrow, or sitting quietly while worrying about yesterday. Your body is in one place, but your mind is constantly somewhere else. The first action is simple. Practice returning. When you eat, eat. When someone speaks, listen. When you walk, notice where you are. When you spend time with someone you care about, give them your full attention. These actions sound ordinary, but they require discipline in a world designed to constantly distract you. Create small spaces in your day without your phone. Take a short walk without listening to anything. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Look around your environment and notice details you normally ignore. You do not need to turn every moment into a spiritual experience. You simply need to become more available to your own life. Pay attention to ordinary happiness. A good meal, a genuine conversation, a familiar song, a quiet morning, a laugh that catches you off guard. The feeling of finishing something difficult, the comfort of being around someone who knows you well. These moments may never appear on a list of major life achievements, but they are often the moments people remember most. Presence also changes the way you experience difficult moments. When you stop constantly rehearsing the future or replaying the past, you give yourself a better chance to deal with what is actually happening. Instead of worrying about 10 possible problems, you can respond to the one in front of you. Try asking yourself throughout the day, where is my attention right now? If you discover that you are somewhere else, gently bring it back. Do not criticize yourself. Just return. You will still have responsibilities. You will still make plans. You will still worry sometimes. Being present does not mean eliminating every thought about the past or future. It means refusing to spend your entire life trapped in them. Your life is made from moments, and those moments are not waiting for you to become successful enough to deserve them. So keep building, keep learning, keep working toward your goals, but remember to look up while you are walking. The life you are trying so hard to create is not only waiting for you in the future, it is already happening around you. Slow down enough to notice it, be present enough to experience it, and give yourself permission to enjoy some of it before everything is perfect. Chapter 10. Turn happiness into a life you practice. You have reached the final step of the journey, but this is not really an ending. It is where everything you have learned begins to become part of your everyday life. You have explored personal responsibility, your inner dialogue, the power of attention, daily habits, relationships, contentment, resilience, purpose, and presence. Now the challenge is to bring those lessons together and practice them consistently, because happiness is not something you achieve once and then keep forever. Life will continue to change. Your circumstances will shift, people will come and go, some plans will succeed while others will fail. There will be mornings when you wake up feeling hopeful, and days when you struggle to find your direction. You will make mistakes, you will lose your patience, you will occasionally return to habits you thought you had left behind. That does not mean you have failed, it means you are human. The goal is not to create a life where you never experience sadness, anger, fear, or disappointment. The goal is to develop the ability to respond to those experiences without allowing them to control the entire direction of your life. This is why happiness must become a practice. Each day, you make choices that either support the life you want or move you further away from it. You choose what deserves your attention. You choose how you speak to yourself. You choose whether you take care of your body. You choose who receives your time. You choose whether you stay trapped in resentment or begin moving forward. You choose whether you continue chasing an imaginary future or appreciate the life that is already unfolding. None of these choices guarantees happiness, but together they shape the conditions in which happiness can grow. Create a simple daily practice that keeps you connected to these principles. In the morning, ask yourself, what matters most today? Choose one action that supports your priorities. During the day, pause and ask, where is my attention? If you are caught in unnecessary worry or distraction, return to what is actually in front of you. At night, take a few minutes to reflect. What went well? What did you learn? Where did you act according to your values? Where did you lose your way? What can you do differently tomorrow? This is not about judging yourself. It is about staying awake to your own life. You will have days when you forget everything you have learned. You will become distracted. You will make choices you regret. When that happens, do not turn one bad day into a bad identity. Begin again. That may be the most important practice of all. You do not need to wait for a new year, a Monday morning, or a major life event. You can restart in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. You can apologize. You can change direction. You can take a walk. You can turn off the screen. You can call someone you love. You can return to the habit you abandoned. You can choose differently in the next 5 minutes. That is how lasting change is created. Not through perfection, but through returning. The happiest life is not necessarily the easiest life. It is a life in which you have learned how to keep coming back to what matters. You keep choosing meaningful relationships. You keep taking care of yourself. You keep learning from difficulty. You keep pursuing worthwhile goals. You keep noticing the small moments that make life feel alive. So do not ask yourself whether you will always be happy. Ask a better question. Am I practicing the kind of life that gives happiness room to grow? If the answer is not yet, begin with one small action, then another, and another, because happiness is not a destination waiting at the end of your journey. It is something you create, protect, rediscover, and practice one ordinary day at a time. Conclusion: create happiness one day at a time. Perhaps the most important lesson from this journey is also the simplest. Happiness is not something you have to wait for your life to become perfect enough to deserve. Life will remain unpredictable. Some days will bring excitement and progress. Other days will bring disappointment, uncertainty, and pain. You will not always get the outcome you hoped for, and you will not always feel positive or motivated. That is not a failure. That is life. The goal was never to control every circumstance or eliminate every difficult emotion. The goal was to become more intentional about what you do with the circumstances you cannot control. You learn to take responsibility for your choices without blaming yourself for everything that happens. You learn to question the thoughts that keep you trapped instead of automatically believing every negative story your mind creates. You learn to direct your attention toward what is meaningful, build habits that support your well-being, and protect your time and energy. You learn that healthy relationships require both connection and boundaries. That ambition can exist alongside contentment, that you can pursue a better future without sacrificing every moment of the present. That difficult experiences can hurt deeply and still teach you something valuable. That purpose is not necessarily a grand destination, but something you express through the way you live and the choices you make. And perhaps most importantly, you learn that happiness is a practice. You will forget these lessons sometimes. You will have difficult weeks. You will lose your patience, fall back into old habits, and wonder whether you are making progress at all. When that happens, do not decide that you have failed. Return. Return to what you can control. Return to the habits that strengthen you. Return to the people who matter. Return to the values that guide you. Return to the present moment. You do not need to rebuild your entire life in one day. You only need to make the next choice a little more intentional than the last one. Take the walk, make the call, set the boundary, forgive yourself, begin the project, rest when you need to, say thank you, put the phone away, listen carefully, notice the good, try again. These actions may seem small, but your life is made from small actions repeated over time. So when you finish listening, do not simply feel inspired and move on. Choose something. Choose one idea from this audiobook and put it into practice today, because happiness is not waiting somewhere in the distance. It is being shaped right now in the thoughts you think, the people you love, the habits you repeat, and the choices you make when nobody is watching. You cannot control everything that happens, but you can choose what you do next. And sometimes that next choice is where a better life begins.